The past 2 weeks have been very annoying filming in a lot of snow. If you live in the Northeast area or around New Jersey, you know what I'm talking about. But if you're anything like me, you will appreciate a solid pickup truck for the coolness factor and for when it snows a lot like this. My name is Omar and today I'm test driving the 2021 Ford F-150. You know, anytime somebody asks me my opinion on a solid SUV or crossover for the family, I always throw in a pickup as a solid option, and they always look at me kind of weird. So let me know in the comments below if you would buy a pickup truck as your daily driver or as your family vehicle, because I certainly would. The 2021 Ford F-150 that I'm driving here today has a crazy amount of rear legroom, and it also has a lot of room for cargo. Not only that, pickup trucks have started becoming more upscale, more comfortable, so it's easier to live with them on a daily basis. That being said, let me give you a tour of the 2021 Ford F-150, and then I'll give you my opinion on what I think about it. But before I do, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit like. All right, let's do this. You know, I never thought a pickup could be this cool and interesting, but Ford has added a bunch of features in the new Ford F-150 that help it stand out, so let's take a look. Now, first up, I'm sure you've already seen this if you've been watching other Ford F-150 reviews, but Ford is all about making the F-150 a solid and convenient work truck. To help you be more productive while sitting in your truck, you can get the F-150 with an option called the Interior Work Surface. Now, if you go for that option, you'll be able to push this button right here and stow away the shifter so it's all flat. And then you can simply flip out the center console and have a full flat working surface so you can whip out your laptop and get the job done. That's very cool. Keep in mind though, this isn't a standard feature on any trim level of the F-150. No matter which F-150 you go for, even if you ball out and get the $70,000 plus limited trim, you'll have to pay an extra $165 for the interior workspace. Now, would I do that? Of course I would, because this is freaking awesome. Next up, let's take a look at the tailgate and the bed, because there are a bunch of awesome features back here. Now, depending on the model you get, you can get a powered tailgate for $695. Now, that may seem kind of expensive for a powered tailgate, but hear me out, because if you go for the powered tailgate for $695, you will also get the legendary F-150 tailgate step and the tailgate work surface, which if you purchase separately, you will have to pay $430. So I would just pay the $695 and get the powered tailgate with it. The tailgate work surface is very convenient. Ford realized that a lot of people use the tailgate to do some work, so they've given you a place to put your pencils, your screws, your phone, and your drink. You also have rulers right here in the back of your tailgate. These are inches, these are centimeters, so if you ever need to measure anything, you can do it right here in the back of your tailgate. That is very convenient. Ford has also placed some slots here for your C-clamps, so if you ever need to tie down or hold down a piece of wood and start sawing away, you can do so, and that's what makes the Ford F-150 a true workhorse. You also have some cleat mounts back here just in case you want to tie down something, which also doubles as a bottle opener. I don't know what it is with Ford and bottle openers, but you have one just in case you need it. Now, the F-150 has always come with the tailgate step for as long as I can remember, but I love the fact they give you a little handle or a little bar right here to hold on to climb up so you don't lose your balance. It's for people that don't have any balance like me. But the fun doesn't stop there. Right here in the back of the bed, you have two 120 volt outlets. And if you go for the Ford F-150 hybrid, you will get a 240 volt outlet. And if you ever need to plug in your power tools, you can do that. So all these outlets are a part of the Pro Power onboard feature. And if you go into the infotainment system, you'll see that you can use the F-150 as a generator and put it into generator mode and use up to 2,000 watts of power. The 3.5 liter EcoBoost that I'm testing here has 2 kilowatts of power, and that means you can have a tailgating party and run a television, a mini fridge, an electric heater, and a blender with a total use of 2,000 watts. The new F-150 hybrid will give you 7.2 kilowatts, and that means you can run a full mobile metal shop right from your F-150, and that's insane. Now, there are two quick things that I want to point out before we move on. Again, depending on the model you go for, you get something called zone lighting. Now, what is that exactly? Well, the F-150 has a bunch of lights around the exterior. So if you're out camping at nighttime or working at nighttime and you need some additional lighting, you can activate zone lighting right here from the infotainment screen. And once you activate it, you can control exactly which zone you want on around the outside of your F-150, or you can just turn on all zones and have everything on. I've had this thing on at nighttime and it gets very bright. So that's a really cool feature. Now, if you go for the Lariat trim or above, you'll get this beautiful 12-inch digital gauge cluster display, and there are a couple of cool things going on in this really sharp and crisp screen, so let's take a look. Once you get inside the F-150, you'll see an animation of an F-150 just floating around the gauge cluster, but once you hit the start button, there's a very cool movie that plays with the Build Ford Tough slogan. That is a very cool and very smooth intro. Speaking of smooth, this digital gauge cluster display is insanely smooth. By the way, I have it in accessory mode. That's why the check engine light is on, so don't complain. Now check out what happens as I circle through the various viewing options. The truck flows in a very cool and continuous method. This is by far one of the best performing digital gauge cluster displays I've seen in my life, and it's cool to see that it's coming from Ford, an American automaker, and not some German automaker. Now check out what happens when I circle through the drive modes. The truck continues to flow in a very smooth and continuous way. This is Sport, this is Eco, then you have Tow and Haul, you have Normal, you have Slippery, and it looks like it's raining right there. Then you have Deep Snow and Sand, and you also have Mud Ruts. Those are very, very cool graphics, and I love the way the truck just continues to flow in a smooth manner. By the way, I love the fact that the F-150 is on a track when you're in sport mode. Last but not least, there's an option that I can't show you because my test model doesn't have it, and it's the Max Recline driver and passenger seat. It's optional on the higher end models of the F-150 for an extra $340, but check out this video from Ford since I can't show you since my test model doesn't have it, and you can basically take a nap in here if you wanted to. Next up, let's talk about pricing for the Ford F-150. The base XL model starts at $28,940. The Lariat that I'm testing here starts at $44,695. The top of the line limited trim starts at $70,825. As tested here, you're looking at $68,341. Now, if you want some of the cool bells and whistles that I'm showing you here and the comfort, you want to start at the Lariat trim and work your way up from there. Now let's talk about power and performance. Power comes from a 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 making 400 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque, and that's mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission. Now the 3.5-liter EcoBoost and other engine choices are pretty strong, but the big news for 2021 is the hybrid option. That will give you 430 horsepower and 570 pound-feet of torque. It will also give you a crazy towing capacity of 12,700 pounds and 700 miles on a full tank. That's pretty crazy. As with the 3.5-liter EcoBoost, you can do 0 to 60 in here in about 5.96 seconds, and you have a top speed of 107 miles an hour. Now quickly, let's take a look at the exterior design of the new F-150 because you have to look really close to see the updates that Ford made to the new F-150 because there's not many. It actually looks very similar to the outgoing model. Yeah, it looks tougher and it looks bolder, but it's not noticeably different than the outgoing one. And yeah, I get it. There are only so many ways you can design a pickup truck, but we're starting to live in a world where we have a Tesla Cybertruck. And yeah, while the Cybertruck may not be a workhorse like the F-150, it looks freaking awesome. I feel like if traditional pickups want to grab the attention of the non-working man or the younger generation, they're definitely going to have to try something a little bit more different and a little bit more daring, and something very different from the traditional pickup design. Personally, I like the looks of the Ram a little bit more than the F-150, but I have to say the Raptor definitely looks a little bit cooler than the Ram TRX. Now let's take a seat inside the new F-150 and you'll be welcomed by a very clean and higher quality interior. It's not as bulky and clunky as it used to be. The interior of the outgoing F-150 was really starting to age, like a lot, but this one here is a very nice upgrade. There's a nice use of materials throughout the cabin. The dash is wrapped in some kind of a vinyl type material and there's some stitching right there. So is the side door panel, pretty nice. The steering wheel feels really, really awesome. And I like the fact that the buttons aren't giant and clunky like they used to be. Overall, the interior of the new F-150 is much more comfortable and much more modern than the outgoing model. Again, if you want all the bells and whistles, you definitely want to start at the Lariat trim and work your way up from there because you will get things like heated and cooled seats in the Lariat trim as standard. As you move up from there with the options and the trims, you can add on a heated steering wheel. You can also add on massaging seats and much, much more. Let's hop in the back seat and check out the rear legroom. My Super Crew model here has a massive 44 inches of legroom back here. That's my seating position. I'm about 6 foot tall. As you can see, I have plenty and plenty of room. Legroom for days. My test model also comes with heated rear seats, a cigarette lighter outlet, then you have a USB-C and a USB port down there, and you have a regular power outlet, so that's pretty cool. Now let's take a look at the infotainment system really quick. If you go for the XL or XLT, you'll get an 8-inch touchscreen display, but if you go for the Lariat or above, you'll get a massive 12-inch touchscreen display that houses the Sync 4 infotainment system. You have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, and you can also install apps here like Waze or Amazon Alexa, so you're pretty well connected. Overall, I think the Sync 4 infotainment system is awesome. It's very smooth, very quick, it's free of glitches, and it doesn't have a giant learning curve, so you can just get in and get used to it pretty quickly. Oh, and by the way, the camera game here is actually pretty awesome. It's very sharp and very crisp, and you also have a bed camera just in case you want to line up your trailer properly, or you want to see what you put back there just in case you forgot. Now, before I give you my opinion on how it is to drive the new F-150, let me point out a few random things that I'll have to show all of you. You have 6 cup holders, 2 in the front, and then you have 4 in the back, 2 right here in the center console and 2 right here in the armrest. Here are what the keys look like for the Ford F-150. Pretty cool, pretty basic, but the coolest thing is the power tailgate. I like this feature quite a bit. Let's hear the door open and close sound from the outside and from the inside. Pretty solid. And of course, let's hear the indicator and horn sound on the 2021 Ford F-150. Indicator first. Pretty Ford. And now the horn sound. I don't expect anything boring. Of course not. Now that I've given you a tour of the 2021 Ford F-150, let me give you my opinion on what I think about it. All right, let's get to it. The F-150 was aching for a substantial upgrade. Ram really stepped up their game with the 1500, and with all the buzz around Tesla's Cybertruck, Ford had to do something very special, and they definitely did. Not only does the new F-150 cater to the working person, but I truly believe that you can use this as your daily driver or your family vehicle. Now, if it wasn't for my wife not liking pickup trucks, I would definitely get one because the amount of comfort, convenience, utility, and tech in here is better than some of the SUVs and crossovers out there. As a daily driver, the new F-150 is quite comfortable, and since this is a pickup, it handles imperfections on the road with a lot of ease. Not to mention, we've been drowned in a lot of snow here in the Northeast, and this thing has come in very, very handy. If you're in the market for a work truck, the Ford F-150 is one of the best options, which is why it's been one of the best-selling vehicles in the United States for decades. But if you're in the market for an SUV or crossover for your family, I highly recommend checking out the Ford F-150. You'll be surprised just how much it can offer. By the way, I definitely know people that own a Ford F-150 Raptor just for the coolness factor. They've never been off-roading and they never tow anything or haul anything. So there's people like that out there for sure. Either way, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit like, make sure you share my content with your friends that also enjoy cars. And also you can follow me on TikTok and on Instagram. My handle is @OmarDrives. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Peace. I mean, I could just go off-roading right now on the side of the highway. It's not like a major highway. This is a 2-lane highway. I could just, just go right and go right into the woods.